He's a successful fashion designer, the co-founder and creative head of Shillong's first fashion house, a recipient of multiple prestigious awards, and a friend. Daniel Syiem may arguably be a household name in town, but he's felt the highs and lows of life. This episode, I'm getting together with the dynamic genius for some style talk, coffee, and to ask some hard-hitting questions.
In retrospect, are there lessons to be learned from all of them? Do you regret any of it?
Because when it comes to being on top, it's not always fun and games.
Hello to all the viewers and welcome to yet another edition of Shillong Buzz. I'm Aaron Nongjop. Like you heard, why has Daniel Syiem not invited me here? We are at his studio. Let's go find out from the man himself. And there he is, the man himself, Daniel Syiem.
Welcome, Aaron.
Thank you so much. Now, why have you never invited me here?
Well, you're a dear friend, first of all, and you don't need a special invitation, and we're open, so
That sounds
you're welcome
good.
anytime.
Now that I'm here, I don't see a lot of menswear. Is your label an exclusive women's clothing brand, Daniel?
Officially, we started off as a brand that caters only to women's wear, but over the years, we've also catered to menswear as well, but it's also very exclusive. We do have special clients in Shillong who we cater to, and but yeah, technically, officially, we are a women's wear brand.
Right. I want to, shift gears a little bit here. Let's talk a little bit the tattoo that is, right in front of my face. What's the story behind it?
Well, I have two tattoos. The first one which I got was this on my wrist.
That's your middle name.
Yeah,
isn't
this
it?
is my middle name, which
Right.
says Nongjop.
Right.
So it's a middle name which I share with my father and my brothers.
Mm-hmm.
And Nongjop basically means a winner. And my father would always tell me, because the brand is always Daniel Syiem. There's no Daniel, because my actual name is Daniel Nongjop Syiem.
Right.
So my father would always tell me, why don't you use Nongjop as well? Because it is a positive
Exactly.
word, and So as a tribute to my father and my brothers, I got it tattooed. So that
Nice.
was my first tattoo.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And what about the one on your chest?
Well, this is a little personal. It says, with the crown of thorns, he became my king. So this speaks about my faith. Faith is very important to me. I think I've survived so many and overcome so many hurdles because of my faith and my upbringing. So this is, my tribute to God and what He's done for me in my life.
Right.
Yeah. And the third one is this one.
The one at the back.
Yeah, the one at the back.
Yes.
So it says free spirit.
Mm-hmm.
So from that you can tell I'm basically a free spirit, so I had to put that on.
A free-spirited boy.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Perfect, Daniel Syiem. So, Daniel, what's your favorite spot in here?
Well, Aaron, this is one of my favorite spots. Within the studio we have our own photography setup where we do a lot of shoots, and we have our in-house models. We have our in-house photographer. His name is Aris.
Okay.
So he does most of the shoots here. So this is where a lot of magic happens actually.
True. I like that. So you showcased your collection at the 17th edition of the Northeast India Fest just recently, and
Yeah.
that was alongside 7 other fashion designers from the Northeast. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the collection?
Well, I was selected to represent Meghalaya at the Northeast Festival in Milan, and for me it was a great opportunity because obviously I get to showcase in Milan. So when I came about, thinking about the collection, I wanted to, our brand has always been associated with India because that's what we've been doing over the years. We've been working with the weavers of Ripoi district and promoting the story of India and its weavers.
Right.
But this time I wanted to do a different take on how I wanted to represent Meghalaya. So basically I wanted to do a collection that will represent the 3 major tribes, the Khasi, the Chanti and the Garos. So I wanted to incorporate fabrics from each tribe, which is the Rindia representing the Khasis, the Thosaru for the Jaintias, and the Damanda for the Garos. So I wanted to come up with a collection that would represent all the three major tribes. So it was challenging at first because I was used to working only with one type of fabric, and now to blend the three different. I mean, I have worked with Dakmandas before, but not blending in with with the India, for example, or the Thosaru. So that was a challenge to kind of bring these three different types of fabrics together and make the collection look cohesive.
Right.
But somehow we were able to do that, and to tie up the collection, I wanted to give it a kind of a theme. So we used the orchid, the orchid as an inspiration. So basically calling it the collection the Orchid's Tale. So that kind of helped pull the collection together and make it look more cohesive.
Now, speaking of collection, do you recall your first collection at the Edmonds Fest?
Of course I do. I mean, that was, that's how I basically started, that's how I got myself, that's where my roots are basically, when I started. And so going back to how I wanted to become a fashion designer is, there's a story that, I'm one of those people who always grew up wanting to be a designer, in the sense that when I look back at my school days, you'll always find sketches of dresses on my notepads and all that. So I was always very passionate about fashion, not in terms of just the glamorous aspect of fashion, but I was always very intrigued by with fabrics and textiles. I would drape them on my mother and my sister when I was growing up, play with my sister's Barbies, So I have that similar story to a lot of other designers.
True.
So growing up wanting to be a designer was also very challenging because this was about 18 to 20 years ago.
That's a long time.
Long time, and that was a time when the fashion industry in the Northeast and in Shillong was almost non-existent. There were no designers around. And so trying to convince my family, and especially my parents, that this is something which I wanted to do was also another challenge.
Right.
Because they wanted me to follow the the typical, finish my graduation kind of a thing, and then take up designing as just a hobby kind of a situation. So I went ahead and did my graduation from St. Edmund's College, and it was during our third year, our final year in college, that we were able to take charge of the college week. And it was there that I wanted to do like a fashion show.
Despite all of that, it was a good start. All in all, it was a good start. And you've mentioned it's been nearly 20 years?
Yeah, I would say 20 years.
How has the brand evolved since then, Daniel?
Well, in the course of 20 years, I mean, the journey has been long and obviously challenging. And going back to when I started, I mentioned I had won the competition, and I was so sure that this is something which I wanted to do, that, I was finally able to show to my family, to my parents, that, especially after winning the competition, that, I feel like this is what I need to take up. And so I moved on and started to, started getting into designing. And I wanted to study fashion and also get myself trained. So I moved on to Delhi for a while, got myself into an institute, but unfortunately I had to drop out for some personal reasons. And that's when I started doubting myself again, and started contemplating on whether I should take up other, look at other opportunities. Yeah. So I went on to work in a call center for a while in Delhi, and then returned to Shillong, and then still couldn't find my way. Dabbled with a few odd jobs here and there. I was working in a Swiss cafe as a waiter, so I was there for a few months.
You became the manager.
And then from there I went on to. First I went on to. I was driving a taxi for a while.
You did?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
But I was probably one of the most fashionable drivers out there. So.
No doubt about it.
So yeah, so I drove a cab for a few months, and then I went on to work in my friend's cafe, which was Swiss Cafe, and I was there for a few months, and that's when I received a call from the owner of Hotel Pole Towers, and they were planning on opening the first proper discotheque in Shillong, and they were looking for a manager, somebody who could run the place. And so my name came up, and so I went for the interview and I got the job. So I worked in, the discotheque was called Platinum, and it was Shillong's first proper nightclub. Yeah. So that was really interesting. That was another phase in my life, which I say that if I ever write a book about that experience, it'll be like, like
a whole chapter.
Not even a chapter, like an entire book.
Okay.
It was so interesting because I met so many different kind of people and had to face so many different difficult challenges, But we worked there for, I worked there for 2 years, and then from there we were able to also generate a lot of employment because we also got in a lot of young people to come in as bouncers, The whole concept of having bouncers in Shillong was pretty new back then. So that also on its own started a new chapter for some of my friends. They went on to start the Bouncers Association of Meghalaya, which is a huge association now in the state. So a lot of things started from there. But what's interesting for me is that's also where it got me back into fashion. So there was a person who would come in to the club every weekend. His name was Tensen Lingdo. Tenny was an officer in the sericulture department.
All right.
And so whenever he would come there, he would, make it a point to speak to me and talk to me about his weavers, and he'll be like, Dan, I know, you are also into fashion. Why don't you come meet my weavers? We want to protect and promote this fabric. It's becoming a dying art form.
India.
Yeah. So after much convincing, I went down to Ribhoy with Tenny to meet his weavers. And this is the story that I keep telling. It's like the moment I met the weavers, I interacted with them, I felt the fabric. I felt like an almost spiritual connection with it. And I knew right then and there that this was my calling, that I would take up this project to help promote these weavers and and basically use fashion as a medium to kind of represent who we are as a people. And that was my way of giving and contributing towards the community.
I like to call it fashion with a purpose.
Exactly, yeah. Then it made sense for me, and that's when I realized that, okay, this is my calling, this is what I'm going to do. So, and I became very passionate about it. I started working with the fabric. Tenny and me were on board, and we came up with a collection. We got an opportunity to showcase at a show in Bangkok, and so I still remember the emotions, the feelings that I went through after showcasing that collection and seeing my designs using this fabric on the ramp, and how beautiful they all looked, and how inspired I felt, and knowing in my heart that this is something which I wanted to do for the rest of my life.
Exactly.
So, and I always say this, that I believe in angels, and I believe that Tenny unfortunately passed away a few years ago.
Okay.
But he was my angel. He came in and helped me decide that this is something which I wanted to do. And then so we took this forward, and then that's when I met Janice. Janice was also working with weavers in Ukhrul district in Manipur, and she wanted to come back to Shillong and also do something out here. So we both shared the same passion of wanting to work with these weavers, and obviously she comes from a business background, and I was looking for a business partner at the time.
All right.
So we both connected and shared very similar ideas on how we wanted to work with this fabric, with these people. And that's when we got together and we formed the fashion house, Daniel Syem's Ethnic Fashion House.
Let me just put this in context for the viewers once again. You followed your passion. You dropped out from one of the top tier fashion institutes in India. Like you said, you drove a local taxi here in town for some time. So your career trajectory has taken such unexpected turns. In retrospect, are there lessons to be learned from all of them? Do you regret any of it?
Obviously, there are always lessons to be learned, when you go into a journey in life, when you're working on something and building a career for yourself, that comes with, challenges are part of the package. It's always about, for me, it's just about not giving up and just being like really passionate about what you do. I think having a passion for something, that's so much more important than being technically trained or being overly qualified. So yeah, we've overcome so many challenges. There've been times where you just want to give up and just and just do something else, or sometimes I wonder, like, because I still remember when I wanted to like, my dream was not to just be a fashion designer. Like I said, first thing was to do fashion with a purpose, and my second dream was obviously not to just be like a local fashion designer, but to have my designs showcased like across the world.
Right.
That was my dream. I knew it would come with a challenge, but we continue to move forward, and also because of the support that I had. I had Janice by my side, who would never give up on my dreams, and then our families and friends and well-wishers. So those also helped us, overcome whatever difficulties came. So, but as far as regrets are concerned, I don't think I have any regrets, because whatever mistakes I've made, whatever challenges that I had to go through, these are the things that have made me stronger.
Daniel, you are adept at fashion and style, without a doubt. Now, I want to hear it from you. Do you think that the Northeast is India's unsung fashion capital?
I would agree with you if you had asked me this when I just started, about 15, 18 years ago. Like I said, when that was a time when the fashion industry was almost non-existent here in the Northeast, here in Shillong. We didn't have any designers or any designer brands, designer boutiques. We just had like tailors in the market. But over the course of my journey, over all these years, I have seen how the industry has grown tremendously. From almost non-existent to having a very vibrant industry here in the Northeast. Now we have so many well-known designers, not only in Shillong but all over the Northeast. We have big institutes like NIFT here in Shillong,
right?
Bajoria, which was never there. And also when you look at how the Northeast fashion industry is blending in with mainstream fashion industry, there's a huge, there's a huge shift of interest on the Northeast at the moment. Not only in terms of designers, but also in terms of models, makeup artists, who are becoming very famous even on the national platforms. So so I would totally disagree with you. We still have a long way to go to catch up with with mainstream India or the rest of the world. But there's progress there, and it's consistent, and the industry is growing. So yeah, I would disagree.
Fair enough. And there's one thing that I notice about you, and I'm sure a lot of people who know you would agree with me, that you love wearing black and white mostly. Is that a conscious decision?
It's something which I'm comfortable with. Like I always say, I wear black, but that's not the color of my soul. So
I like how you put that. Yes.
So yeah.
So, do you follow fashion trends, or you just listen to your gut and your instincts and decide, okay, this is what I want to wear? What do you do?
For me, I think my creativity is very instinctive. I don't follow trends, but I do keep myself updated and make sure I know what's happening in the industry, across the world. So, but normally I do not follow trends at all. No.
Yeah. I want you to talk to us a little bit. You've mentioned and touched upon it earlier. The support that your family and loved ones have had on you so far, and everything that you've achieved so far, who do you attribute all of this to?
I think first and foremost would be Janice. She came into the picture at a time when I really needed somebody to kind of back me up and support me. And over the years, she's always been there by my side and supported me and believed in me, believed my dreams. In spite of everything, in spite of the challenges, she's never stopped giving up on the fashion house. And, so she's one person that I would, she's part of the journey. She'll always be part of this journey. And for that, I will forever be grateful. And so besides us, also, her side of the family, her mother, who had just recently passed away, was also great support. She had so much of love and support for us and for the brand. And obviously my side of the family, I will always remember my Mekha. I was really, really close to her. I grew up, I lived with her most part of my life.
Right.
And I would always be sitting, I have these memories of her and me sitting together, and I'll be there by her bedside, I'll be doing my sketches. And my Mekha was a huge fan of the soap opera, The Bold and Beautiful, which was also about fashion, which was revolved around, this fashion, this family and all that. Obviously, like even my parents, my aunts, my siblings, my cousins, they've all been a huge part of this journey.
And Daniel, I'll show you a picture and I want you to tell the viewers the story behind it. All right, in your own words, you said that it's a life-changing journey, a journey that is slowly shaping me into the person I was always meant to be. Would you like to share that experience with us?
Yeah, so that was a year ago when I had fallen very sick. And it happened so unexpectedly one afternoon when I was taken to the hospital. And I thought it was just a pain that I had, but then it turned out to be something else. And I will never forget that afternoon. It was in March last year, where I was rushed to the hospital, and I thought that I was just going to be there for a couple of hours, and I didn't realize that I was going to be there for 4 months. And I was suffering from complications which I didn't realize I had. And it was a very difficult, I think probably one of the most challenging, the most challenging part of my life. I thought I was gonna, the doctors were fearing whether I would survive or not. I mean, it was that serious. They still think it's a miracle that I've survived. My parents, my close ones, thought they were going to lose me. And, but, I mean, I didn't realize it then, but I think it all goes back to my faith and how I survived and I came out of that situation because of the faith that I had, because it gave me the strength to fight back. The prayers that came in from people from everywhere, prayers were just pouring in. And I think that also kept me going. And I spent days and nights on that hospital bed wondering if I was going to come out of it, and sometimes wishing that it might as well just end. And also being very grateful for whatever I've been through in my life, what I've accomplished, and being very, very appreciative of everything that I have and have experienced. And so it was like a roller coaster moments for me, especially emotionally, spiritually, and just taking one day at a time and realizing how valuable my life is and how valuable the people in my life are.
Thank you so much for sharing that story with us. Let's lighten up the mood a little bit. You're also into food, you love to cook, and then there's flower arrangement. Tell us a little bit about that bit.
Well, I see myself as not only as a designer, but I feel like I'm blessed to, as a creative person. So you can't really restrict your creativity to just like one element, right? So for me, I mean, being creative is also like doing other things. So food is another passion of mine, which I enjoy. And you know, flower arrangements, all these things, these are things I think that comes with the territory of being a designer and being in the design, you know.
Okay. And Daniel, you know, fashion is so fast-paced. What's in today is just out tomorrow. What do you do as a fashion designer, you know, to stay relevant and be on top of your game?
I think that's one of the biggest challenges that any designer faces or will have to face. You know, it's just keeping yourself out there and being relevant all the time. You know, it's so important because end of the day, it's just, for me, like my name, like Daniel Syiem, it's not my name anymore, it's become a brand. So I always have to ensure that that brand, that name, you know, is out there, you know, and because in fact, that's one thing which is so cruel about the industry, about being in fashion, because 1 minute you're in, 1 minute you're out. That's what they say, right? Which is so true.
Daniel Syiem, thank you so much for your time. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me and the entire team here, and thanks so much for opening up to us to a lot of things that we don't know about Daniel Syiem. But I hope that people henceforth will see the Daniel that they have not known before. Once again, thank you so much for your time. Thank you once again. And for the unversed, Daniel Syiem's ethnic fashion house celebrated its 10th anniversary with the launch of their online store in 2021. Now the label houses a bread line, a jewelry line, and its signature Rindia collection. You won't want to miss any of that. I'm Aaron Lingdo. I shall see you in our next episode. Until then, goodbye.